Yo, what's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint, back with another recent reads. We're going to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man Red Goblin. There's going to be some spoilers because it's only a couple of issues, so stay tuned unless you don't want to get spoiled. Alright, y'all, so if you're keeping up, I'm currently reading Scout by Jason Aaron. There's 6 deluxe editions in that run. So after I read a book, I knock out something else kind of quick so that I can keep up with the recent reads videos. Recently just read The Amazing Spider-Man Red Goblin oversized hardcover. I know I'm a little late to the party, and this was kind of like a last year kind of thing. But as these books were coming out, I always wanted to read up on the Red Goblin and see what it was all about. And it wasn't that big of a deal. You basically get Amazing Spider-Man 794 through 801. 794 and 795 are straight trash. Basically, only has the last page dedicated to the Red Goblin stuff, and then 801 has nothing to do with it either. So you get 4 issues, 5 issues talking about the Red Goblin. So for those who don't know, it's pretty obvious. The Red Goblin is Norman Osborn, who gets the Carnage symbiote and gets his Green Goblin powers back and combines that to make the Red Goblin. Now, the Red Goblin is like most symbiotes, except for he doesn't have any weaknesses. He's not weak to fire or sonics or anything like that. He kind of breathes fire and has these pumpkin bombs that are basically extensions of himself and can talk and bite and all that kind of stuff and explode. He's got a dope look to him, though, man. He's got this tail going on. He's got this symbiote glider. And he's basically got this master plan to hurt Spider-Man. So, I haven't read Dan Slott since Spider-Man came back after Superior Spider-Man. And a couple things have changed now that I'm reading this. So, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, is not with Mary Jane. Mary Jane works for Tony Stark, which is whack. He's no longer Parker Industries, and he's no longer a version of Tony Stark. He is back to that damn Parker luck, and he was living with his girlfriend Mockingbird, and now he's just moved into like a little, studio apartment. J. Jonah Jameson knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So does Silk. So does Miles Morales. So does Mary Jane. Flash Thompson is Agent Anti-Venom, and he doesn't know. Basically, everybody knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So, also prior to this, I guess at one point in time, Spider-Man put something inside of Norman Osborn so that he could not harness his Green Goblin powers. But when Norman bonds with the Carnage symbiote, he releases whatever was put in place so that he can have his Green Goblin strength and his craziness. Really, he wanted the craziness. And he merges with Carnage and becomes even crazier. So basically what happens in this storyline is Red Goblin running around town. He wants to hurt Spider-Man. And he finds out who Spider-Man is by interrogating J. Jonah Jameson. Now, Jonah slips up because he says something to the fact of, yeah, you went after Spider-Man when you threw his girl off the bridge, referring to Gwen Stacy. And Norman's like, his girl? Like, that was Peter Parker's girlfriend. And then, boom, puts 2 and 2 together, remembers who Spider-Man is, and then figures out the best way to hurt him, which was Spider-Man was always worried about, is by attacking who he loves most. So, he's going to go after Aunt May, Mary Jane, Liz Allen. I think that's about it. He says the only way that he won't do that is if Spider-Man never puts on the suit again. So, basically, we round up his sidekicks, Silk, Miles, what's the guy's name with the Sonics? Clash. And then we see Dr. Octopus later on as well. But anyway, Carnage, Red Goblin easily defeats those guys. He actually shoots these, like Carnage does, right? These like spike tendrils into everybody and causes Spider-Man to put on the suit and come after him. Now, Agent Anti-Venom, we remember Flash Thompson becoming Agent Anti-Venom in the Venom Inc. trade paperback. I did a recent reads on that. But he's basically just running around the whole time just healing all the Spider crew people that get hurt. At the end of the day, there's no way to beat Red Goblin. Jonah, feeling guilty that he let the cat out the bag, he contacts Venom, Eddie Brock, to come help. Venom doesn't really do shit, but then they figure that, hey, if Green Goblin's got a symbiote making him better, we should give Spider-Man a symbiote to make him better, because Eddie Brock's just a man. Spider-Man is powerful in himself. Give him the symbiote, and he'll be able to go toe-to-toe with Red Goblin. So, Spider-Man wears the Venom symbiote again, which is kind of cool, man. That was a good surprise that I didn't know it was going to happen. At the end of the day, it really wasn't enough, and you have to use Red Goblin's ego against him, Norman Osborn's ego. He's about to kill Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's like, hey, you're not going to get credit for none of this. Carnage is going to get all the credit. And then, Norman decides to shed the symbiote, go toe-to-toe, and he gets whooped up. Actually, what happens at the end of this is, while he's separated from the symbiote, and he's about to bond with it again, Spider-Man throws a gasoline tank that's about to blow up on the symbiote, and it basically, destroys the Carnage symbiote while it just touches Norman, which kind of fries Norman's brain. At the end of the day, Norman is in jail thinking that he is Cletus Cassidy, and he thinks that Spider-Man is Norman Osborn. So that's the end. I guess in order to make this hit home, we do lose Flash Thompson, and he gets killed by Red Goblin. Very kind of anticlimactic. And they have a little funeral for him and everything, but it's really about it, man. I mean, if you think about it, like I said, it was 2 issues that kind of teased at this 5-issue little story. Last Dan Slott's story on the Amazing Spider-Man run. And, it was just alright. It didn't match the hype that was built up when I remember these single issues coming out. Well, anyway, let's flip through the artwork. I do have some beef with the artwork inside of here as well. I feel like some of it was just lazy and sloppy. So let's look at that together. Alex Ross does the covers, and man, I think he only hit like two out of 5 of them that were really good, man. And usually I always give positive reviews, but this wasn't the best story, man. So let's take a look at the artwork. I'll show you what I'm talking about, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's look at this OHC, this oversized hardcover, The Amazing Spider-Man, Red Goblin. Here's the front of the dust jacket with the Alex Ross artwork. I think that's the cover for $800. Here goes your spinal. And here is the back. You can see it has a $34.99 cover price. I buy mine from InStockTrades.com, and they're usually 40 to 50% off. But you can see what it collects, ASM 794 through 801. You get what looks like a Humberto Ramos wraparound cover for the hardcover. Personally, I'm not a Humberto Ramos fan. I know people love him, but I just like more realism in my Spidey comics. I always felt like his proportions were way off and goofy and cartoony, and I'm just not a fan. But I have grown to like him more than when I first started getting back into comics. I got in around the Spider Island time, and he's been doing a lot of covers ever since then. Probably before. Alright, so here's a look at Red Goblin. I'm looking at his picture, and I'm like, what is that, gray eyebrows? What's he got going on over there? I thought the tail was a nice touch, though. And it was nice to see a symbiote that wasn't like Carnage or Venom or whatever. He looks like a goblin, so it's pretty cool idea. So here you got an Alex Ross cover. I forget who this guy is. Oh, Scorpio from the Zodiac Killer. That shit was whack. So that's what this whole issue has to deal with. And I remember reading this from I think it's the first arc of Spider-Man Worldwide. And this takes place a year later. And I guess it kind of wraps it up full circle. But, this stuff with Loki as Doctor Strange was super whack. Just a goofy story that I was not feeling. A throwaway story that didn't matter. But I guess what happens at the end, it shows Norman, who Oscorp has been taken over by Alchemax. I guess he's been going through some ish, but he gets this Carnage symbiote and he starts bonding. And at first, he looks just like Carnage. At first, Carnage is in charge. So then you got, this is a dope Alex Ross cover. The next issue introduces the Flash Thompson arc with the Ancient Anti-Venom. It shows the, what are these guys called? The Goblin, I don't know, it's like this crew of goblins and hobgoblins, Phil Urich and that kind of stuff. So here's Norman talking to Carnage, gets him to release whatever Spider-Man did to him so that he couldn't go crazy Green Goblin. And basically sells Carnage on the idea of letting him being in charge and doing this the Goblin way. This is a good Alex Ross cover, actually. So this was weird. Peter and Mary Jane hooking up, but then her deciding that, no, we can't do this because you're always going to leave and do spider stuff. I hated how they portrayed Mary Jane, man. And, like, she's, like, working for Tony Stark and the Avengers, and she lets you know, like, in every panel that she's in. Super whack. Here goes your boy interrogating Jonah. Straight Ozzy Osbourne style, bites the head off of this rat, which was pretty sick. Yeah, I guess they're showing that he is kind of brutal. Like, you can see him, looks like he kills Phil Urich as Hobgoblin, who is now the Goblin King. So we get a lot with Liz Allen. She's the billionaire CEO. And somebody even says it in the story, like, damn, Peter, you know everyone. You know Liz Allen, she's a billionaire, head of this huge company. You know Mary Jane, da-da-da-da. It is kind of like, I guess that's what happens when you've been around 75 years. So here goes some Goblin stuff. Then they also have with Harry Osborn and his son with Liz, Normie Osborn. And then he has another son, and there's some resentment there between Normie and the baby. Here you go. What's the baby's name? Stanley, or who knows? Something like that. Anyways, Norman feels like he gave Harry a chance to help, rule at his side. So he basically scoops up Normie Osborn, his grandson, and puts the symbiote in him as well. And now you got Red Goblin and Red Goblin Jr., Goblin Child, I guess he calls himself. Here goes Spider-Man with the symbiote on him. So, oh, you know what I wanted to show you guys when I was talking about the artwork that I was not feeling, man? You guys can tell me what you think about this. This just bothered the hell out of me. It was with Agent Anti-Venom and Spider-Man. Was this it? Yeah. I just felt like the way that they just drew him, I'm like, that's it, man? It's like, feels just like, I don't know. I'm not with it. It feels sloppy and cheap and I don't know. 800's an oversized issue, so you got a lot going on. It was a cool battle at the end. You kind of think that Red Goblin's going to get killed straight Green Goblin style with his own glider. This was cool. Spider-Man kind of venoming out. Eat your brains. This is Spider-Man with the Venom symbiote on. So that was pretty dope. There's the end. Very Lex Luthor, Batman vs. Superman type of crazy in jail. Goodbye to Flash Thompson, his little funeral. I'm sure he'll be back. This is basically the end. This teases Doc Ock looking sharp as hell, coming back as Superior. So we'll see. I heard rumblings about that. I'm not really sure where we're at with that. And then 801 was just some Spider-Man saved some guy back in the day, and he's talking to his family about it, and it's a nice little story. This was a cool panel or spread. Oh, you got variant covers. Let's go over the variants. Wraparound cover by Ramos. Yeah, which is, some of it is on the actual hardcover. I like this cover. Got him in some cellophane. Design variant by Ed McGuinness. Doesn't really look like McGuinness's work. This doesn't really look like Clayton Crane's work either. But it is. Whatever. Pretty cool. Nice homage cover to ASM 39, I believe. Ditko remastered variant. Alright guys, so that's my recent reads on the Red Goblin. You know, it was alright. Quick little read in between reading other stuff, which I don't normally do. I usually am reading one thing at a time and that's it. But, you know, to kind of find an excuse to read these smaller books and keep, like, you know, some content coming out, I decided to read these things in between reading Scalped. But let me know what you thought about the Red Goblin story in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for daily comic book content, whether it's a recent reads or a haul video or a statue unboxing, something every day. And make sure to join the Geminites Facebook group because we have a strong community in there with a wealth of knowledge. CGC guys, statue guys, omnibus guys, single issue guys. It's a really good mix of knowledge and wisdom there. So Geminites on Facebook. You got to answer 3 questions to get in. And we do giveaways and shit in there too, man. So y'all should join the Geminites. Y'all also need to stay minty fresh. Peace.